This is our Dazzle sump controller for individual sumps. This is the controller box. This is your solenoid. And this is your sensor. So today we're going to show the correct connection between the controller and solenoid and controller and level sensor. So when you have your level sensor or your controller laid out, you'll cut these off, and that will allow you to unravel your cords. So the top one, that goes to your level sensor. Bottom one here goes to your solenoid. And first we'll show how to connect to the solenoid. So when you get the solenoid, there's going to be these pieces here. So you're going to take this piece, you're going to pop that screw out. Take a small screwdriver, and there'll be a little square where you'll stick this in and pop this out. This is what you want. So before we get to connecting the wires, you're going to need the actual wire housing, which is this piece. So we're going to run the cord through the housing. So you take the cord, run it up through the housing, and pull foot to foot. We're not really concerned about that, and just that it's on there right this second. So now what you'll do is make sure that you have your little ends exposed, and the black and yellow green. It's important that you're using the black wire with the marked number 1 on it. There is 2 black wires, one marked 1, one marked number 2. We cut number 2 out of there, and we only use the yellow green and black number 1. So back to this piece, as you look on the front face, you'll see a number 1 and a number 2. Black goes to number 1 and yellow green goes to number 2. So I'll connect those now. So you loosen your screws. Yellow green goes to number 2. So you'll insert that and tighten it down. Then black goes to number 1. And that's how it should be connected. So after you're done connecting your wires, now you'll slide the wire housing back up, making sure that your 1 and 2 is upright, being 1 and 2 parallel to the housing. So if you're looking, here's 1, here's 2, and it goes into the housing like so, connected in. Then you'll install your rubber housing to waterproof it, like such, and then insert your screw back in. And now we're going to mate this with your solenoid. So again, you want this wire to be facing down with the flat of the solenoid on the bottom and your 2 prongs on top. Now we'll mate those together, and then you're going to tighten the screw. And that is the proper way to wire your solenoid. Now we're going to wire our level sensor properly. So we're going to keep this out of the way here. You're going to grab your level sensor wire, and you're going to insert it through the wire housing here. and pull you some slack through. In the level sensor itself, there is a little green connector, and you're going to want to remove that just by pulling upwards on it. And it's very important that this goes back in the correct way as such. What I'm going to do is face it towards me, and you want the two silver openings will be on top, and your two tightening screws will be on the bottom. So you want the screws facing towards you, your person. And basically, you're gonna wire your left yellow-green and your right black. So left yellow-green, right black. It should be wired like such. Screws facing the bottom, yellow-green on your left, black on your right. Now, putting it back into the sensor, you'll pull the slack out with just enough to connect it into the housing, which I'll demonstrate now. Screws facing downward or towards your fitting, and then simply push in the connector like such. Then make sure you have a little bit of slack on the inside with your cable, and then you're gonna tighten your strain relief. That way it doesn't get yanked out and pull the connection from the sensor. Now we're gonna demonstrate how to program the box relative to coolant. So you're gonna cut your cable. So now we will plug in the power to the Dazzle controller box. So once you plug in your box, then you'll want to go and refer to the manual that comes in the box with the unit. These are the instructions, and it's important that you follow each of these instructions to set up your unit. You put it in programming mode, and then you'll program it to your individual sump. On here, it'll explain to you what's good, what's bad, all your levels. Basically, if you have a light that's showing, you can use this as a reference to see what your controller is doing. On the back page, there's some troubleshooting, just in case you happen to wire any of these wrong. These are some of the signals that you'll get on your actual controller. So once you had plugged in your power to the controller box and you grab your instructions, you're going to want to basically turn to the next page, which is page 2. It'll look like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the controller into programming mode, which allow you to program your individual sump, so that way the unit will know when to trigger, when it's getting low, when to fill, etc. So on your first one right here, you'll follow from beginning to end. There's a little button on the controller unit itself, which is located right there next to your power cord. That's basically your programming button, and what you'll press and hold to get through your different modes. So when I have it like this, I'm pressing the button over here, as you will following your instructions. So to get it into programming mode, you'll press and you'll hold for 10 seconds. Which then basically puts you in programming mode, which allows you to set your levels for your level sensor. To set your rest level, which is when your machine is fully turned off, all the coolant has drained back through your machine down into the sump. You don't want anything running. You want every drop of coolant back in the sump when you do this. Then you'll press and you'll hold for 5 seconds. Then that's your rest level set. Then you'll move on and you'll hold the switch for 5 more seconds, and that will set your rest level. Then you'll wait for 2 audible beeps, and then you will hold for 5 seconds more, and that will basically put you where you need to be in your sump. Now for the operating level, you want to turn your machine on. So on this step right here, for your operating level, and you hear the 2 beeps, you want your machine running coolant. So your CNC machine should be, your coolant should be running, any misters or anything you have pulling whatever coolant you're going to use out of your sump. And once that's set, you'll hear 2 audible beeps, so it'll beep out of the side of that hole. That's an audible alarm. And then basically you're good. Everything should be good. Once you set your operating level, you should read a green light as such. And then for test purposes here, we'd like to show you that basically when you lift your sensor, and that's in fill mode. Now if we were to catastrophically lose coolant, that would happen. As this happens, it'll turn the solenoid on, which will then actually allow coolant to flow into your sump until it reads back up to green as such. And that's the Dazzle Sump Controller.